How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to Boylai Hobby Time. This week, I'm recreating one of my favorite scenes from my favorite Star Wars movie. April Fools. I'm actually recreating a previous project of mine. Instead of Boba Fett, this time it's going to be the other famous jetpack wearing spaceman. I didn't realize Bandai made a Buzz and Woody kit. When I found this one at my local hobby store, I knew I had to put it into a video. That's a little uncanny. This was a fun kit to assemble. Snapped together real easily, like always. It had some fun pieces and fun colors that the Star Wars kits don't usually have. Once I had snipped everything off of the sprues, I chucked the pieces into the provided Buzz Lightyear assembly box, and I gave everything a good shake. Another reason this kit is cool is that the wings pop open if you push the button on his chest. It's too bad I'm going to ruin that feature later. If this was supposed to be the sad, self-aware, dreams-crushed toy Buzz that we see from Toy Story 1, I would have stopped at this point and called it good. But this is Boylai Hobby Time, so we gotta make him a bona fide space ranger with a laser and a working jetpack. Of course, he also needed an opponent to combat, and I decided it would be best to keep in the Disney family, put him against an imperial stormtrooper. After I assembled the stormtrooper, I got the figures acquainted, and it was time to figure out the layout for the diorama. I've been told I used the stormtrooper falling back trope too much, so I decided to do it again. This time I'm recreating a previous one, so this time doesn't count. I used a hanger wire to suspend Buzz off the ground. I needed a way to hold him secure without rotating, so I bent the end of it into an M, I slotted that into his jetpack, then I drilled a hole in the base for the wire to sit in, drilled it out, and I pressure fit it in place. I of course needed to get power to his laser beam, so I drilled some holes to create a path for the wire to travel up his arm, through his shoulder, and out his back. I'm going to be using two AA batteries to power this light setup, so I traced out the shape of the battery housing, I cut it out using a drill and a jigsaw, made sure that was a nice snug fit before fixing it in place permanently. The wire that connects to the other side of the laser goes through that little pipe, and I wanted a way to hide it in a more natural looking way. So I pulled out some XPS insulation foam, carved that into a little rock, stuck that over the pipe, and I cut up a few more pieces of that same foam into little rocks to cover the rest of the base. Then it was time to cover everything with a plaster, paint, and Mod Podge mix. This time I did add a little bit of sand directly to the mix to add some texture. Also watered it down, and after I had stirred that thoroughly, I covered the whole base with it, and I left it to dry. Once that was dry, I used a mix of black and brown washes from Vallejo, as well as some light mud and pigment powders. This is a slightly different technique than I usually use for my bases. This was in an attempt to create a more alien-looking landscape for this encounter. For some reason, Buzz's eyes could not look down, so I painted over the pupils with some white, and then I added back the pupils using some stickers that were provided with the kit. That way his slightly crazed eyes could look more at his opponent. Think for a minute, could you imagine being this stormtrooper? Just doing your job, chilling, posted up on some random moon, minding your own business, and then Buzz Lightyear of Star Command shows up, starts mouthing off and refusing to cooperate. Bummer. After I had threaded the big filament through the stormtrooper, I added 2 small blue filaments to the Jetpack Thrusters. Unlike the long ones, these are not flexible, and I broke a couple of them while putting them in place. I finally did get those in place, and I soldered all of the positive leads together and ran them down on 1 wire. I got out a toggle switch, cut a hole in the base. It was a nice snug fit, connected some wires to that, and then I snapped it in place. I then put Buzz in place on the end of the standoff. I ran the wires down along the standoff and through the bottom of the base. I connected all of the negatives and all of the positives together. And then I connected everything to the battery and to the switch. I made sure to test the circuit before fixing anything in place permanently. I drilled some holes in the foot of the stormtrooper as well as on the base, and before fixing him in place, I made sure that the hole lined up with the trajectory of the laser. I soldered the LED noodle to Buzz's arm and to the rock, and I gently pulled on the wire from either end, making sure it was as straight and taut as possible without breaking it, of course. I then used some UV resin and hot glue to create some melting effects on the rock and the stormtrooper's armor. I then used some cotton stuffing to create the exhaust from the jetpack. I stacked it up larger at the base and made little clumps, getting narrower and narrower towards the top to create a natural looking cloud effect. I then airbrushed a dark blue-gray onto the outside of the cloud, being more concentrated the further from the fire it was. The last thing to do was to put Buzz's clear dome on his head and paint the sides of the diorama black. After that, I called it good. That is it for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Huge shout out as always to my patrons. You guys are great. Have an awesome week, everyone. I'll see you next time.